The Intelligence Quotes app offers free daily motivational quotes, sports quotes, school quotes, and inspiring quotes from influencers today. They have over 1,000 quotes in almost all categories, including religion. If you're looking for the motivation after the 2020 pandemic, they've got you. Download the app to have access to their database. You can find it on Apple's App Store or go to their website at intelligenceapp.square.site. Again, the best place is the App Store. It's called the Intelligence Quotes app.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast Week in Review for this Sunday, September 18th, 2022. The final show of the summer here on the WWE Podcast the final week in review before the summer comes to a close. We'll be doing another show or two, of course, as we nearly drop a show every day. But Thursday evening, is when fall begins, and then it'll be snowing before you know it. So that is something to look forward to. If you like cold weather, well, yeah, then it's coming. But couple things. Number one, I want to just acknowledge that 8 years ago yesterday, I began a podcast, not under this name, under another, and that one no longer exists as this podcast has morphed into the WWE Podcast, but 8 years of podcasting is under the belt and a lot more to go as our goals are lofty. Our goals are lofty, but I think we can do it. We've got a great team behind us and we have the passion, I think, to stay with it. And that honestly is like the biggest thing. When you're podcasting, I think the biggest thing that you need is just a love of what you're talking about, because you're not going to get into podcasting and get rich quick. Ain't going to happen. So if you're motivated by money, you're going to bow out of this real quick. So anyway, also to my 2-0 Giants, then I know you're not here to talk about football or my podcast, but football Giants 2-0. Now they could still go, 2-15. But at least for the time being, I can say that the New York Giants are undefeated. And the baseball season is about to come to a close in the next couple of weeks as playoffs begin. So it's a fun time as a sports fan with the kind of the crossover of baseball going into the playoffs, although the Yankees scare me. And then they're going, or rather football is also just getting underway. And it's a fun time, whether you're a fantasy football fan, you're a casual fan, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's great. It's a great time for food and apple picking and just it's chili on Sundays and all that stuff. It's such a cool time, I think. And also your favorite TV shows. Your favorite TV shows come on back too, and most of them. People always ask me, what do you watch outside of wrestling? And honestly, it's a couple weird things. I mean, Family Guy is always there. My wife and I got into Game of Thrones. That's long gone. Stranger Things came and went. I mean, of course, those don't last long because they take forever to create seasons. But kind of the constants right now, Vanderpump Rules. Make all the judgments you want. And Friends does come and go. I've seen Friends I don't know how many times through. And honestly, also Ghost Adventures. I love me some Ghost Adventures. So, all right, let's dive into wrestling. And enough about me. Enough about the stuff you don't want to hear about. Let's talk about wrestling. Let's talk about this week in WWE. And this is a weird week in WWE. It was a strange week, especially Friday Night SmackDown. The show just didn't. I don't know. It didn't jive with the audience generally. What I mean by that is baby faces were getting booed and heels were getting cheered, and not in a rebellious kind of Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania or hardcore audience in a major market way at a pay-per-view, just in kind of a I don't know, more of a softer way. It felt like the crowd there in Anaheim wasn't full of my age group or younger. It felt kind of like the normal demographic of families and, some of my group and women and children. It felt like a mix. There was nothing inappropriately being chanted, but it felt like the people that were there were just underwhelmed for the most part about what was going on. Of course, the main event delivered, and other things did too. The Brawling Brutes winning, we'll get to that. But I don't know, it just, the crowd didn't jive with it. And you know what? I can't blame them. And I'm going to start with Logan Paul because, the Logan Paul experiment, I thought up until that point, went well. They had their WrestleMania moment, or he did with The Miz, and then The Miz turned on him, and then he faced The Miz a few months ago, and that match surprised most people. He took it seriously. He busted his ass. There was an element of respect there from fans. And Triple H even said that he earned the respect of Triple H, of him, given how much time he spent taking this seriously, training and eating right and all that. And he was putting in extra hours at the Performance Center, all of that. And I respect that too. But that match with The Miz felt like a million years ago. And now he comes back and he feels like he can just throw a press conference out there and challenge Roman Reigns, which, by the way, you knew he was going to accept. Roman Reigns didn't appear on SmackDown, but the press conference was scheduled for the next day that we all knew Roman was actually going to go to. We all know what it's going to lead to. It's just the pomp and circumstance of getting there. But here's the fan in me and the business person in me are going to war in my mind. Because even if you're 100% fan, you don't care about the business piece, you kind of have to not flip out about this. So here's the positives before I lay into WWE about this whole thing and lay into the decision for this. The positives for this, if you are Triple H, if you are WWE, your WWE management, somebody's trying to sell you this main event and why it's a good idea. Here's the thing. First and foremost, Logan Paul has a massive social media following, like 20 plus million followers. That's huge. They look at that as an untapped audience. Now, some of them, even a good chunk of them may already watch wrestling, and you're not going to bring anybody new over. But I'd imagine out of that 20 million, you still have a sizable portion, if not the majority, that are not consistent wrestling fans. And with Logan Paul posting on his social media about him competing in WWE, you know that they're looking at that and they're salivating at the potential new viewers. So, and I'm not shaming them for that. I understand why they've brought in Logan Paul to do for the November 5th Saudi Arabia event. Now, I don't know if it's Crown Jewel or whatever the hell it is. So it's going to be Roman Reigns and Logan Paul for the Undisputed Universal Championship at November 5th in Saudi. So, I mean, that's a solid 100%. But they're a business. They're a for-profit organization. And they're looking at his followers and saying, yeah, that's going to be, we're going to get something out of this, right? And good for them. That's what they should do. Bring as many viewers as they can because viewers lead to dollars. But the other part of this is he puts on good matches. He's a young guy. You know that he's going to put in 120%. He's going to take this seriously. He's already proven he's taken this whole thing seriously. He's not coming in for a one-off and using it as a platform to promote his podcast. So that's all true. You know, he's shown respect for the business. That's very important. He's bringing in a ton of potentially new viewers to the product. That's super important. But I really don't know beyond that what the benefits are. Because for me, that's where they end. From a business perspective, they're looking at dollars, they're looking at viewership, and cool. From a viewership standpoint, if dollars and cents weren't involved, this makes no effing sense at all. And it's disrespectful to the championship, and it also exposes the lack of depth of opponents for Roman Reigns, because they're having to bring in a guy that has had one singles match in his entire career to compete for the top championship. Are you kidding me? So again, this is the fan in me putting business aside of being really just, what the hell is going on here? And you heard this past week on SmackDown, the audience really just essentially crap all over this. Not buy into it, not feel it. This doesn't work. Logan Paul's nowhere near earning an opportunity here. Nowhere near. And it is a bit, well, they're trying to position him as a babyface. Good luck with that. Now, Saudi Arabia may act like good little boys and girls, and they may get a pat on the head and a lollipop for playing along into Logan Paul being cheered. They may, but I could also see this turning very poorly, where Roman Reigns gets cheered and Logan Paul gets booed. Logan Paul is a guy that's very inherently just unlikable. He doesn't have a very relatable personality. He may be young and he may be super successful, but he doesn't have the inherent quality of just connecting with people on a level that makes you feel like he's the common man, that you feel like you could be him, right? That most of us are looking at him going, he's an entitled, spoiled, bust his ass. He earns it, but he's not a relatable guy. And he doesn't, most of us are not going to achieve the level of success that Logan Paul has. And that's okay. But it just feels like he's not a guy that is there like a Daniel Bryan that is kind of fighting and scratching and clawing to get to the top. It also does one really bad thing. And this has been a habitual problem with Roman Reigns' run, and something that Anthony DeMarco and I alluded to in one of our many discussions that we've had over the several months with our current state of WWE show, is that Roman's run, we all know, is lengthy. We all know we're ready for it to end. But it's also been kind of artificially inflated. What him and I meant by that, I think he brought it up, is that he hasn't been defending his championship nearly as much as would be warranted with the run he's had. Like, in other words, he goes many weeks or months. I remember how long was it after he won the championship at WrestleMania to when he actually defended it after that? It was I feel like it was a couple of months. So there are long periods of time in which he actually shows up and defends it. So he just kind of runs, hides, and hibernates at home or whatever he's doing, and good for him. Again, I'm not crapping on him at all. Roman Reigns is doing his job, getting paid handsomely to do a fraction of the work that he normally has done, but he's earned it, and good for him. He's providing for his family, all of that. But from a storyline pro wrestling perspective, this run is artificially where it's at because of the storylines that WWE has manufactured. And what they've also done, by one of the ways that this has been manufactured, is that they, and what's frustrating fans is they have, over the last year especially, promoted events beyond the one that's right in front of them. For example, this past week, as I just talked about, they jumped and skipped over Extreme Rules to talk about the main event of the Saudi Arabia event in November 5th. What that means is that 1,000% nothing is going to happen to Roman Reigns' title run for the next 48 days now. Minimum, and likely beyond. If you think Logan Paul is winning at Saudi Arabia, you have another thing coming. It's not going to happen. There is zero chance of Logan Paul winning. And let me just tell you, as bad as fans want somebody to come in and beat Roman Reigns so that we can move on with our lives and have a normal champion with championship defenses on a regular basis, and we have a champion we can actually see, beyond all that, those are massive benefits. But you the fans will crap on it and boo Logan Paul if he wins because he's still an outsider. It's a bad business decision. Fans, I think it would be super disrespectful to the championship itself. Fans would hate it. I generally think fans would hate it. So you are artificially inflating his run by advertising a championship match 7 weeks, 6 weeks out, knowing that it's ironclad that nothing's going to happen to that run. So you're telling fans ahead of time, hey, no, he's going to be champion a minimum of another 7 weeks. There's another 50 days for you. Just tack it on that he's going to get past 800 days. I'm telling you, the closer we get is going to be 1,000. This is going to be insane. So again, you go beyond that though. For me, as awful as this is, as a fan, not business, fan, you look at this and go, well, it is ridiculous. And WWE has done this before with those large chunks of time they would tell you ahead of time. Like, I think at the SummerSlam main event, they did that with too. They told us like 3 months in advance or something insane that it's going to be Brock versus Roman again. And we're all like, yeah, my God, right? It ended up being a good match, but that's not the point. The point I was trying to make is that if you've been listening to me, or maybe you've made your own assumptions or whatever, we kind of looked at Survivor Series anyway as the next real time that Roman Reigns' championship was in jeopardy. So this time around, it didn't. I mean, it made me annoyed and angry with the booking of this whole thing. But when you look at it and you go, oh well, it's okay because it's not past Survivor Series. We still didn't get to Survivor Series yet. That to me was the next date that I would circle on the calendar of Roman Reigns' run still or really being in jeopardy, with likely Seth Rollins challenging Roman Reigns for the event. But I didn't anticipate the Saudi Arabia event. I didn't think that was happening, but it is. So November 5th is the minimum date in which Roman Reigns will remain champion through. So that, again, I put some, I believe, right near or over 800 days. It's very, very close to 800 days. And then, of course, you have Survivor Series, likely with Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. It has to be. It's just got to be, right? So that also means my prediction of Seth Rollins coming out the Monday Night Raw after Extreme Rules and finally declaring he's going to go after Roman may not happen, because he's going to have Seth, that is, have to have an opponent at the Saudi Arabia event in the interim and then move on to Roman Reigns. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I really, as a fan, I'm just like, this is a bad idea as a fan, that you're looking at this and going, okay, the dude's been here. I mean, literally had one singles match, and you're putting him in the main event of a Saudi Arabia show with like 50,000 people, and we're all supposed to cheer this guy. Why? I think they're really going to lean heavy into and hope that fans are just so sick of Roman as champion and tired of the story that they'll cheer for anyone. But I think they're going to be really sadly mistaken, because Logan Paul does not have the respect of fans yet at that level. They have kind of an entry level respect for Logan Paul because he has shown he's taking this serious. As I said, he didn't crack under pressure. He put in the work. That's all wonderful, but that just gets you the kind of foundational respect. It doesn't elevate you to the main event of a pay-per-view to challenge a guy that's been champion for 2 years, and we're all of a sudden supposed to say, oh, well, yeah, I mean, you showed us you've really shown us that you respect this product. You're taking it seriously. You earn a championship. No. Yeah, that's not how that works. Not from a fan's perspective, but I think they're hoping fans are blinded by the hatred and frustration of Roman Reigns being champion, that they're going to go, well, I don't really know Logan Paul, but anybody's better as champion than Roman. Right? No. So, but there's actually like a negative chance. If I could do negative chances, I would do like a negative. It wouldn't even be a 0 for Logan Paul winning. It's like negative 15 or something. It's under the ground. Like, it's not even like ground level. It's in, like, again, like a 15-foot hole. It's a 0 chance. Okay. But I know I spent the first 20 minutes here talking about it. I really wanted to give you guys my opinions up front on that. I couldn't bottle that up for the rest of the show. So let me know what you guys think. Maybe you have a different perspective of Logan Paul here, of him being in a championship match. And again, I don't think I'd have a problem with it so much if Logan Paul wanted another match, just not for the championship, But okay, let's continue on and let me talk about something else here. Let's go through SmackDown a little bit. And if you haven't heard the full review that we've done, check it out. It's by Michael Ritter and John Carrasco. They did a great job of covering SmackDown this week. Check out also Michael Ritter's Football Function podcast. It really help him out. He's got another podcast he does that, hey, no better time to talk about football than right now. So check out Football Function. Give Michael some support. Ricochet defeated Sami Zayn after landing a shooting star press, and the Bloodline attempted to jump Ricochet, but we have, I almost said Riddick Moss, Madcap Moss, even the playing field with a chair. This match was fine. Ricochet coming out, we had Logan Paul in his corner. I don't think that helped Ricochet. People didn't want to see Logan Paul after he announced he's basically going to main event a pay-per-view. And then, Sami Zayn and Ricochet, hey, no problem here. Ricochet beat Sami Zayn, and it looked like we were going to get into a 6-man tag, but we didn't. Karrion Kross also promised to forever antagonize Drew McIntyre in a backstage promo. No problem here. I like the dynamic with Karrion Kross and Scarlett. They've got an old school feel to them, almost like a Miss Elizabeth and Randy Savage. I know they're not the same characters, but that feeling of just old school. Gold Dust and Marlena, Terry Runnels, right? You don't see that often anymore, where you have a female valet for a male wrestler. And I know that maybe in today's society of feeling that it's not the woman's job to do that anymore or something, and in the women, they should be having their own division and their own wrestling. They shouldn't be feeling like a second fiddle. All that, I'm sure, is an argument, but here's the argument for it. It worked for many decades very well. Okay, very well. And you have a women's division now that's legit, and it's a dynamic that works well. She's not being disrespected. So she's like a throwback. I love it. I love the feeling that I get with these two. And Karrion Kross, I like his promos. I do. I like the way he speaks. I like how he's gonna say. He said he's gonna forever, like, time can't stop him or like save him from being tormented by Karrion Kross, and it was good, And we also had Drew McIntyre respond I think towards the end of the show, standing on the announcer's desk, and said that it was a nice little promo. Drew told Karrion that he seems obsessed with time, and the only time you should be concerned about is the countdown from 3, 2, 1, lights out. That was the essence of the promo. I liked it. It was effective. I really like Drew McIntyre here. Drew McIntyre to me has been kind of reborn from the time when he was champion for 18 months, and we were all actually tired of him being champion. And he left the title picture for a while, and we all were excited because he's very believable to beat Roman, and he didn't. And now he's gotten sidetracked temporarily with Karrion Kross. And I like it, though. I did. I really enjoyed this. Alpha Academy were attacked by they attacked Braun Strowman after we had Braun Strowman attack the Maximum Male Models back to school runway short that they did, which, why am I enjoying this? It seems like a segment that I should hate and crap on and feel it's silly and it's entertainment-y nonsense. But there's something about it. It's a guilty pleasure for me. I don't know. With Maxine and Max Dupree, I have no problem with either of them. And having Mansois and Massey, who came up with those names? I know they're spelled Mace and Mansoor, but especially Mace, who's sitting in the production meeting going, Mace, how do we change him into, kind of this, essentially the antithesis of what he was before in Retribution? And somebody's like, how about Marseille? I mean, it's a funny name, and it was just perfect. And then Mansour. I do have to wonder, with Mansour being the consummate hometown hero that can do no wrong in Saudi Arabia, I do wonder if he's going to debut as a Maximum Male model, or he's back to Mansour being the hometown hero that has the invincibility cheat code on, that no one can beat him. I do wonder. So we'll see. But yeah, Braun Strowman ended up attacking those two, and then we had Alpha Academy. Otis and Chad Gable ended up attacking Braun, and they got some good shots in, and then Otis hit the world's strongest slam, a throwback to Mark Henry, on Braun Strowman, and then he quickly popped up, like, to me, too quickly. Like, he popped up almost Kane or Undertaker-like, which felt unnatural. If he's going to pop back up, here's what you do. You don't act like Undertaker or Kane. What you do is just have him just kind of keep crawling to his feet. I didn't like how they tried to, I don't know who designed this, or maybe it was an ad lib by Braun Strowman, but I don't like when he was trying to essentially imitate Undertaker or Kane. It's just like, dude, stay in your own lane. Don't act like that. Okay. Don't sit up like they do. It didn't work for me. And he did it too quickly as well. So I wasn't a fan of the no sell because of how it was executed. I like the idea, but the execution was done poorly. But next week, Otis versus Braun Strowman, so that should be fun. Also, Roman Reigns returns next week. I believe those were the only two things that were advertised for next week's SmackDown. Bayley then defeated Raquel Rodriguez following distractions by Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Shotzi rescued Rodriguez from a post-match assault, and then Bayley boasted about how Damage Control can do whatever they want in a pre-match segment. Shotzi didn't get a great reaction, and you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be surprised by that, because Shotzi hasn't had a whole lot of direction lately. She's feeling kind of lost in the sauce, and maybe fans just don't know what to do or think about her. I don't. I certainly don't. So perhaps this does give her something to do to counter Damage Control. She's just somebody that they had kind of on the roster that's a good wrestler, got a good look, and they just said, hey, how about we put her as a babyface? She's not really strong as a heel, or really doing anything of importance, really, that would be more important than finding dancing partners for Damage Control. So again, I didn't hate it. I just think the crowd was just kind of blah about it, because why would they go crazy for Shotzi? Like, what's the reason? So, but that can change with time. Okay. Oh, and also Raquel Rodriguez, they're doing everything they can to protect Raquel Rodriguez. And I that sounds like a complaint. It's not. Raquel, they're clearly very high on Raquel, and I see why. She's got that muscular look to her, athletic, muscular look. She's young. She is a good-looking woman. She can perform. She wrestles very well. All that. And so I see why. And it's something I am observing on a week-to-week basis, that they have protected her every step of the way. And again, no problem with that. Just an observation. All right. Liv Morgan then interrupted Ronda Rousey's interview and demanded her respect. She challenged Rousey to an Extreme Rules match. Rousey accepted, and then told Morgan it was the champion's funeral. Not super strong for Rousey here, as she did what she always does in promos, that she just can't help herself. It's her default face when she's being talked to or she's cutting a promo. She tilts her head to the side. I'm gonna put a meme up of some, or just like put a graphic up of it. If no one knows what I'm talking about, she's annoying in promos. Ronda Rousey is super annoying in promos when she's, I don't know, like when she's trying to be cute or come up with lines. I don't know what. She tilts her head to the side and does like a little side smile. And if she had a mic in her hand, she'd kind of like hold it like, I wish you guys could see me. She holds it kind of off to the side. Her head's tilted to the side. She does this little smile thing. I don't know. Rousey, for the love of God, can we turn her heel like really this time? Not just kind of JK. Don't psych us out. Can we really do this? I don't know. I'm interested to hear how the crowd reacts, but Liv Morgan, on the other hand, love her promo delivery. She talks slow, but that's fine. I don't need 100 miles an hour to know or to try to figure out and decode what you said. I don't want that. And Liv Morgan was very intentional with her words about respect and that Ronda will have no choice but to respect her after she beats her again, and pointed out that she's the only person living on this earth that has, in WWE, really maybe anywhere for that matter, that has beaten Ronda Rousey twice. Holly Holm didn't, right? I don't think so. But so I love Liv's delivery. I just have a sneaking suspicion that Ronda Rousey is going to capture the belt at Extreme Rules. I just have that suspicion. We'll see. We have, again, McIntyre challenge Karrion Kross. What else happened? We had the number one contendership for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships. It was the Brawling Brutes, the New Day, Imperium, and Hit Row. This was a good match. It wasn't very long, but I think this is a lot of fun to watch. The crowd got into it. I think for the crowd's perspective, it might have saved the show because they seemed a bit apathetic up until this point, generally speaking. But there were some great near falls, great action, brought the crowd in, and the Brawling Brutes ended up taking this victory. So they will challenge the Usos at Extreme Rules for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. And I like it because the Brawling Brutes are no longer the heel faction, given Sheamus's status as the leader and what happened with Gunther, who kind of took the night off. And I'm okay with that too. Gunther was there, but he didn't participate in the whole shenanigans here. Or rather, he didn't have a large part, I should say. It felt he was very much under the radar on Friday night. And that's okay. Again, Sheamus and Gunther had a stare down again. Whenever they lock eyes, it's almost like they're doing mental, like some kind of telepathic war. I don't know. Like they're so blind every time they lock eyes that anything could happen around them. I mean, there could be, the building could be on fire, but they're standing there, damn it. And whoever blinked, they have a staring contest every time. You're like, I'm not blinking, you blink, right? So perhaps I could do away with that. If there's any silly thing I could critique, it'd be that every time they lock eyes, they don't have to look like they're about to fall in love. Okay. Like I get the premise. I understand the message they're trying to send me, that they can't see. They have tunnel vision. That's all they want to do. Right. I get it. I understand why they do it, but does it have to be every time they lock eyes? Even if they're like 20 feet away? I don't know. Okay. So let's see. But by the way, I wonder when Big E's got to be coming back soon. Big E has to be on the mend. From what I understand, he is close. So we'll see. We had the North American Championship as well. Solo Sikoa defeated Madcap Moss after hitting him with a swinging solo. It was very, very close to a rock bottom. I mean, it was about as rock bottomy as you can get. So this ended up being Zayn interfering in this match to allow Solo Sikoa to keep the North American Championship. No problem. This match was fine. Madcap Moss very rarely puts on poor matches, and Solo Sikoa is going to do just fine in the ring as well. It was just fine. It was good. Okay. Let's see what else. We also had a bit of a dissension in the group where Jey Uso seems to be getting angry with Sami Zayn, who I think he's threatened that Sami's going to take his spot or something. There's growing tension with Jey and Sami. I mean, there has been some there already, but it's continuing to grow. And that's why Solo Sikoa invited Sami to be in his corner for his North American Championship match and not Jey. So there's something going on here. Also, Paul Heyman returns. I forgot to mention that. Paul Heyman opened the show. I'm going in total reverse here, but he did open the show. So it was nice to see Paul Heyman back, and he's the one that confronted Logan Paul. And people still cheered for Heyman. and did not cheer for Logan Paul. They just didn't. So, all right, let's see. Let's move on to quickly Monday Night Raw and just remind you of what happened so you guys can get ready for later tonight for Monday Night Raw. And Finn Balor took on Matt Riddle, where Finn Balor beat Riddle. We got Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah taking on Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Dakota Kai and Io Sky win the championships. That was a big moment on Raw, probably one of the biggest. Win the women's tag team championships. And let's see here. We got Chad Gable taking on Johnny Gargano, and Johnny Gargano won in a very good match. We got Bianca Belair taking out Sonya Deville. And that was this for the women's championship? Yes, I think it was. And Bianca Belair won that in an okay match. And then let's see here. We got Omos taking out two jobbers. That's not a surprise. We got the Dexter Lumis. I think he was he seen in like the Miz's home or something last week? I think that was the case. And then Edge versus Dominic Mysterio, where Edge won by DQ. And the main storyline threaded throughout Monday Night Raw was Dominic and his, I guess, just lost soul that has been collected by the Judgment Day, where Rhea Ripley continues to poison his mind on a weekly basis, and I love it. As part of this title in the show says, I think Rey and Dominic is coming for WrestleMania. I've already explained how. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's the slow burn, long arching story from now to WrestleMania, and I am looking forward to it. I think Dominic and Rey is going to be fun. There's going to be violence. Rey's going to be conflicted emotionally. We could bring Vicky Guerrero back for the build. You can bring Rey's family into this. This is going to be great. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, yeah. Before we go, though, I don't dive too much into Monday Night Raw because we do a whole review. I'm just seeing if there's any other news coming out of WWE, and I'm not seeing anything too crazy. Bray Wyatt's still in the news. I guess he's still floating out there as a possible return. We've got, let's see, I'm looking through Wrestling Inc. I don't see a ton right now, but I know there's a ton of stuff going on in AEW, which I'm glad I thought about mentioning that. AEW, guys, if you are interested in doing a 30-minute review for the AEW Dynamite show every week, or if you want to do Rampage too, that's fine, but definitely Dynamite and any pay-per-views that they have, then reach out to me on Twitter at wrestling_audio or on via email, realwwepodcast@gmail.com. That's realwwepodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want, you could send it to the mailbag email. That's mailbag@wwepodcast.com. So if you're interested, again, guys, this is your chance. If you want to be a part of the team here and cover AEW on a weekly basis, I only ask that you have some kind of quality microphone, you have a passion for AEW, and that you're consistent. Consistency is key on this show. If you don't think you can do it every week, or if it's going to be kind of hit and miss, then I'd ask you to not apply. But if you're interested, email me, guys. I would love to talk to you. But I think that'll do it here for the WWE Podcast Weekend Review. Tomorrow, Anthony DeMarco and I will be back. It'll be fun to talk to him tomorrow. We're recording in the early afternoon, probably around 2 o'clock Eastern time. So it should be available for you shortly after that, talking about everything going on in WWE. And I have a feeling of what we're going to talk about. I have a sneaking suspicion, but we'll have to see. And if you want to support the show, guys, please give us a 5-star rating anywhere you can on Apple Podcasts. Or you can support us by going ad-free on Patreon at patreon.com/WWE podcast. And there's also an option to go 99 cents a month on Apple Podcasts with no ads. But I've also heard some of the patrons ask about some of the things that we could do. And I'm thinking about doing like live streaming video for patrons only. And maybe specifically during pay-per-views, premium live events. I'm thinking about doing that. So if you want to get yourself signed up and get yourself on Patreon, now may not be a bad time. I'm going to start focusing on a lot more exclusive content for patrons. So something to think about. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really do appreciate it. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.